Hello and welcome back to One Hive TV. I'm your host, T. Wells. I appreciate you for joining us. Today we have another fresh news spotlight on the ShapeShift DAO for you, looking to touch on new partnerships, recently passed proposals, and ideation today. Before we begin, please make sure you like, subscribe. We really appreciate your support, and let's get into it. Leading story for the ShapeShift DAO this episode is the listing of the Fox token on a number of CeFi exchanges. Starting about 2 weeks ago with Coinbase Pro, quickly followed by Huobi, and most recently Gate.io. You can trade the Fox token on any of these exchanges. It's excellent exposure, of course, for the DAO, for the project, for the Fox token. And of course, as an ERC20, if you wish to withdraw your Fox to MetaMask or Ethereum, you can do so to self-custody. So if you are a bit of a DAO governance nerd like we are here at One Hive TV, you may know that Messari Crypto recently added a new feature to their dashboard known as the Governor. The Governor. Right, this thing is super cool, got a lot of interesting filters that you can play around with to keep track of everything that's happening around the DAO space. It is a really cool tool. We're definitely going to be using it for our Monday stream. If you haven't joined us yet, we're on every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern time with the exception of the 27th of December. You should join us if you'd like to. We'd love to have you. It was great to hear the Messari Crypto team explained a little bit more about the Governor tool in their recent AMA in the ShapeShift server.
So at a high level, we really we're looking at the governance landscape, and the thing we notice is that it's very fragmented in the sense that a lot of the early conversation happens in Discord channels, on governance forums, and then it'll go to maybe like an off-chain vote through like Snapshot, and then sometimes through like a Governor, like Alpha Bravo type framework. So we really wanted to piece this all together into a more like holistic framework. So you can have really a one-stop shop portal for governance.
For an update on ShapeShift DAO's partnership with ICHI, Brian stopped by a recent governance call to share a bit about a new product offering known as Angel Vaults. Very interesting tool for treasury management and token price support, particularly under the circumstances of a potential bear market. Brian explains a bit more.
Liquidity, it is the money that is available for trading. So when you have a Fox ETH liquidity pair, that liquidity pair it exists so that you can supply ETH and take out Fox tokens. You can supply Fox tokens and take out ETH. That correlation is very hard to break. So it works fantastic when the market is going up. Everything kind of goes up when ETH goes up. The problem is that you're also fully exposed to the downside. Basically, the price drops on the other AMMs, the ones that have the ETH pools, and the vault simply arbitrages and buys those tokens. And then when you rebalance it puts a take profit order to then sell those tokens back for dollars. But when ETH goes up, it doesn't restrict the ability to benefit from that. And so we put forward a proposal to create an Angel Vault, as we call it, for the Fox community. It would be paired with Stable Fox, the token we just launched, and the Fox token itself.
First up on the list of recently passed proposals, SCP-43, the infrastructure budget proposal. I think under this super innocuous proposal title, you have one of the most important steps forwards towards decentralization so far, right, in the ShapeShift DAO's quest here. So what is this about? Well, the ShapeShift DAO has products, right, that rely on critical infrastructure to be run, maintained, to ensure that these products are available to users. And in this case, the DAO is reliant on ShapeShift Central to run this infrastructure. This proposal formally transfers that to a trusted partner in Taxi Stake to conduct these critical operations for the DAO here, transferring it again away from the central corporate entity. I think, again, this marks a significant step forward. It increases the self-sufficiency of the DAO to address the trust issues here that might arise. Of course, the proposal provides explanations for a number of redundancies, right, backup options. Should the arrangement with Taxi Stake fail, again, this is perceived to be a very low probability, but in the event that it should occur, we're all human beings, there are backup options, which is great to know. So again, once again, congratulations, right, to the ShapeShift DAO for taking this significant step forward. Head over to Snapshot or the forum if you want to read a little bit deeper on this proposal.
That will extend our existing relationship with Taxi Stake such that Taxi Stake will run the what will become the new primary instance of our backend data provider, so-called named Unchained. And then we will cut over our WebV2 software to use that. And that will basically do a lot in a very short order to establish the DAO as a fully operationally independent entity, no longer dependent on any legacy ShapeShift assets or any former centralized ShapeShift infrastructure in order to continue serving its product to the universe.
Next up is the integration of Coordinape into the ShapeShift DAO workstream ecosystem. This is a story we covered in the previous episode when it was in ideation. It has since been elevated to and passed on Snapshot. So this means that 100,000 Fox will be made available as a Coordinape fund to be distributed proportionally across all workstreams. Each workstream leader will have discretion as to how these funds will be allocated and implemented with their contributors. We're very excited to see this implemented. If you've used Coordinape before, you know how awesome it is. We have a bit to share with you from Seth and Zaku from a recent AMA.
So the biggest problem that I've run into in explaining Coordinape to people is that it's a complete inversion of the traditional model of how we pay people. How do you help people to understand why this is beneficial and overcome the most common objections to it?
Coordinape is a tool for DAOs to incentivize and reward contributors. It essentially asks whatever community is participating to allocate give to each other. And you can think of give as just kind of poker chips that represent some budget you're trying to distribute. Having the normal or traditional models of hiring someone and paying them to come do a specific task, trying to evaluate whether someone is a good fit or not before you quote unquote hire them. These are hard to do anywhere, and especially hard to do in this DAO context where people have very fluid contributors. People are coming and going, and also a lot of things happen so asynchronously, anonymously, pseudonymously. And so, what's better with Coordinape is it allows people to come and contribute right away and be contributed based on their contribution. You're not being hired for a role and paid accordingly. It's really a chance to show the value that you can bring and then get thanked for it and compensated for it by the community. We really encourage people and sort of built Coordinape to really lean into the subjective experience and the direct personal experience. I may see that some of the core team or people that are really active in Discord, I see that they're active, but maybe I haven't done any actual work with them, right? The people that I'm allocating to are the people whose work I can either directly speak to or, something they've done has directly allowed my work to flourish more. And the upside for cheating is so minimal. It's sort of like if I successfully collude, I may get 1 or 2% more give than I would have. But if I get caught, I'll be presumably like excommunicated from the DAO for being untrustworthy and a cheater and not, having bad vibes.
Needing to focus a lot of time and energy on anti-cheating. It's like passing the test legitimately is easier than cheating. Why bother, right? It's an incentive solution. Tell us if people using Coordinape have seen increases in productivity or been able to solve problems by analyzing the flow of give through the DAO.
One thing we can certainly point to is that when there's new contributors and they come and start adding value, it's much more likely that they will stick around because they're being immediately appreciated and compensated. You don't have to sort of wait for X amount of months to make some sort of hiring decision. Coordinape is free to use. And we get paid the same way that every other contributor in the DAO gets paid, which is if someone thinks you're adding value, they can give to you. So this is our monetization model, is that Coordinape is a member of every circle. And if people think that it's valuable, they can allocate to it. And then we just get, a percentage of the give like everybody else.
Finally, on past proposals, we have funding for the Product and Creative Services workstream through the summer of 2022, and Diggy shared a little bit more in a recent governance call.
There's very detailed goals outlined, high-level and very specific goals for the product workstream. And as Tyler just pointed out, we are now the Product and Creative Services workstream with the addition of Gray Machine Squad. And we also have a new product owner who's joining the workstream starting in December 27th. And we're hoping to also bring on another hybrid designer / front-end developer onto the workstream, basically Beard 2.0 if we can find one.
Moving on to ideation, top of the list is SCP-46, a move to establish a responsible disclosure program. The boil down here is to incentivize developers to find vulnerabilities in ShapeShift software. Mr. Nerdhair has a bit more from a recent governance call.
Proposal, in a nutshell, is to create a Hall of Fame. This is analogous to the Hall of Fame that centralized ShapeShift had, but like way better, because the Hall of Fame centralized ShapeShift had was updated rarely, if ever, and hidden in a corner of a website somewhere. This will be a smart contract that mints NFTs and gives them to researchers for reporting security issues. Once the 90-day disclosure period expires or their issue is resolved, whichever comes first, then they don't have to keep their issue confidential anymore, and contract will pay them a fixed bounty amount as compensation for the overhead of reporting to us and working with us to solve the problem, and just sort of to incentivize their future.
Also on the ShapeShift forum, we want to draw your attention to the suggestion for the DAO to become a validator on the Osmosis network, another potential revenue stream for the DAO. This is something that has been discussed also in recent governance calls. Wouldn't be surprised to see it elevated to Snapshot in the near future. Also, if you are going to ETH Denver, a lot of reasons to be excited, one of which, of course, is that the ShapeShift DAO will be on the ground. Something special is in the works, being planned. We'll share that with you when the time is right, so stay tuned. This will be our last episode for 2021. We'll return back in January with your regularly scheduled ShapeShift DAO programming, as it were. We were hoping to do a retrospective on 2021 and cover a bit of the story of ShapeShift decentralization, all that. So also stay tuned in for that. Make sure you subscribe and continue learning with us. We really appreciate your support. A happy holidays to everybody. Stay bullish. We'll see you in the next video.